It always amuses me when flat earthers say that they've found proof for something. We of course know that this is nonsense because you can't prove anything that doesn't exist. But when I saw With the Sun 33's recent video, I laughed even more because apparently he's got proof of the firmament itself. Hello all and welcome along to another video with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Right on with today's video then, which comes from the flat earther With the Sun 33. He seems to be convinced that he's got proof of the firmament. So without further ado, let's get on with debunking this one then, so we can bring him back to Earth with a bump. Take it away, my friend.
In 1962, the United States military did a major operation called Operation Dominic, aka Operation Fishbowl. Most people know it as Operation Fishbowl. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that Operation Dominic, the reason it's Dominic is because Dominus means of the Lord in Latin, number one.
Actually, if we're going to be technical here, Operation Fishbowl was a small portion of Operation Dominic. They were not exactly the same thing, but with different names. And also, the name Dominic wasn't some secret clue from the US government about the Lord or a dome. The US military used code names like this all the time. Some of them religious, yes, but some of them completely random. For example, there were operations called Ivy and Castle and Upshot Knothole, none of which prove anything mystical.
And Operation Fishbowl, the symbolism is quite obvious there. I mean, if you can't tell, it's a glass dome. That's what the symbolism of a fishbowl is. It's a dome. It's a glass dome.
Operation Fishbowl was named that way because it involved testing nuclear detonations in the upper atmosphere, as if you were detonating something inside a contained environment, like a fishbowl. It was a metaphor for studying effects in a confined portion of the sky, not proof of a literal dome.
Now, why is this interesting? Because I think this is just more proof of the firmament. Now, anybody with a phone these days can go on and download ChatGPT for free. And you can ask your phone, what was Operation Dominic and Operation Fishbowl all about? What were they trying to do? And it will tell you straight up that the operation was not only about weapons and about the Cold War, but it was also about trying to crack open the firmament above us.
Wow, that doesn't look like you've tried to manipulate ChatGPT at all, does it? It's funny because I asked ChatGPT if this was the case, and this is what it said back to me. No, Operation Fishbowl was not about trying to crack open the firmament. That's a common myth in flat earth circles. But the actual purpose of the operation is very well documented and has nothing to do with any dome or firmament. The whole point of the operation, of course, as I already said, was to focus on nuclear detonations high in the atmosphere. The goals included studying electromagnetic pulse effects, testing missile warhead reliability in upper atmosphere conditions, and observing the effects on communications, satellites, and the ionosphere itself.
Now, this is all declassified information. So ChatGPT is reading all the information and giving you an answer. I just find it unbelievable that people still do not want to wake up, okay? There's a reason there's a firmament above us, and it makes sense because we are in a pressurized system.
Yes, we are, but that is literally because of the weight of the atmosphere, and that is due to the gravitational pull of the planet.
How can we be in a pressurized system if it's not concealed? That would be impossible, ladies and gentlemen. In order for pressure, you need to be concealed. It needs to be confined. So we're under a dome.
You don't need a solid barrier to have pressure. You just need mass and gravity, both of which Earth has. And if we really were in a sealed system like a dome, then the air pressure would be uniform and not decrease with altitude. But it does. That alone disproves this dome claim.
Okay, rainbows prove the firmament. And the fact that depending on where you are and you take a picture of a rainbow, they're going to be flat and long, or they're going to be very arched. If you take a picture in New England of a rainbow, it's going to be a beautiful arc. That's because New England is closer to the North Pole. If you go out towards Antarctica and take a picture of a rainbow, they're flat. That's because it's further away from the center of the dome.
Rainbows are caused by light refraction, reflection, and dispersion in water droplets. droplets. When sunlight enters a raindrop, it bends and bounces off the inside, then exits, splitting into its component colours. The angle this happens at is always around 42 degrees, relative to the light source and the observer's eye. So the shape of a rainbow, whether it looks like a full arc, a partial curve, or just a flat band, depends entirely on your position relative to the sun, the angle of the sunlight, and the ground or horizon cutting off part of that arc. And the idea that rainbows are flatter near Antarctica? There's absolutely no data to support that. Rainbows appear the same way in both hemispheres, because the physics of light doesn't care where you are on Earth.
So you get a wider rainbow because the rainbow is a reflection off the firmament dome, which is why if you were to make a rainbow at home, you need three things. You need water, you need light, and you need a reflective device. Without a reflective device, you're not going to get a rainbow. You might get some colored rain, but it's not going to be in the form of a bow. It's certainly not going to be, it's just going to be like a mystical, colory looking mist. It's not going to be a line or a bow. In order for that to happen, you need a reflective device.
That is a fundamental misunderstanding of optics. To make a rainbow, whether outside or in a home experiment, you need three things: water droplets or mist, a light source like the sun or flashlight, and an observer standing at the right angle, about 42 degrees relative to the incoming light. No mirror, no reflective device. The reflection that causes the rainbow happens inside each water droplet, not from an external object.
Why does science not want to tell us this? Because science's reason for a rainbow is the most insane, silly-ass thing I've ever heard in my life. That the rain droplets are 42 degrees angled, and the sun shines it, and because it's the 42 degree, it forms a 42 degree rainbow. Well, not all rainbows are 42 degree curved. That becomes an issue.
Oh my days. We're not measuring the curve of a rainbow like a piece of string. We're measuring the angles between light rays. That angle of 42 degrees is not the curved line in the sky. It's the angle of light travel, and it defines a cone of light around your shadow. The rainbow is just the colourful edge of that cone. That's why every rainbow forms a circle centred around the anti-solar point, the spot directly opposite the sun from your point of view. Classic Flurf misunderstanding there.
So is that, oh, so I get it. So what they probably mean is that the raindrops here in the north are 42 degrees, but in Antarctica, the raindrops are probably just different sizes. So yeah, that's what it is.
You really aren't helping yourself here, my friend. In fact, you're digging a larger hole of misunderstanding.
So science's explanation for things is silly when you really begin to do the research, all right?
But here's the thing. You haven't researched, not correctly anyway.
Learn about these operations, all of them. Learn about what's going on. Learn about Admiral Byrd. Learn about these people that went out to Antarctica and found the firmament. Learn about these people. Learn about this stuff. It's fascinating.
Admiral Byrd did not find the firmament. He found a hell of a lot of land in Antarctica. And this is why I know he hasn't researched properly. If you look at Admiral Byrd's journals, reports, and interviews, which are all available, by the way, you will see that none of them mention hitting a dome or discovering the edge of Earth.
Now, I wrote 3 books. I used to charge money for them. They're all digital. I'm giving them away for free now because I just want people to learn. If you go to my website, you can get all 3 of my digital books and just read them, okay?
I'm okay, thanks. I think I can survive without reading your amazing books.
Ancient belief systems. It's about where the whole idea of it came from. It's fascinating. Why? Because these ideas came from the northern hemisphere. Why is that fascinating? Because the northern hemisphere is where we can see the North Star. It's a center point that acts as it's a center point that people were able to start to build characters out of the stars. They started to watch the North Star and watch all the other stars spin around, and they started creating characters and all sorts of stories over thousands and thousands and thousands of years. This stuff is fascinating, okay?
Ancient beliefs are fascinating, yes, but they're just that. Beliefs. The fact that humans built mythology around the stars is beautiful, yes, but it doesn't mean the stars are circling above the flat Earth with a fixed centre. It just means people were curious, like we still are, and tried to make sense of the cosmos with the knowledge they had.
You gotta understand, super fascinating stuff. When we talk about Lucifer, okay? The word luz means light in Latin. We're talking about a light in the sky, and the ancients used to look at this light in the sky that would come out at night, and when the sun came up, that light would be diminished and you wouldn't see it anymore, and that light became envious of the sun, and the sun has always been God's son. God's son, the light of the world, and it was brilliant and beautiful and bright, and it brings life and light to the world.
This right now is storytelling. It's creative and symbolic, sure, but it's not science. It's mythology with a sprinkling of linguistic coincidence.
And when it is up, when the sun is risen, when the risen sun rises and it comes out, it diminishes Luz. And Luz became envious over years. Luz, of course, is Lucifer, and I'm talking about Venus, the planet, the third brightest light in the sky. These are stories that came from the sky. You got to understand, we've been around a long time. Ancient people have been making stories about the sky for thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
And also that makes no sense because, of course, the sun and Venus can be in the sky at the same time.
And people have been running with these stories, creating all sorts of religions and everything else. I think that you should learn the truth. It's fascinating, but this is just what I believe. I love you all. If you want to go to my website, you can download all my books for free. I have a book on symbols. It's 500 pages, every symbol you can think of, all different. Most books on symbols only give you one little sentence on what the symbol is. This has pages on every symbol. And then the newest book, Age, Deception in the Modern Age, which is how the earth is not a spinning ball, how it's flat, and why, and how the hell we have been so drawn off course.
Self-publishing has got a lot to answer for, hasn't it? I've heard Nathan Oakley is writing his own book too. Dear, oh dear. Well, there we go. What do we think there of that proof of the firmament from With the Sun 33? Are you convinced? Let me know in the comments below what you thought. As I say, we're all done and dusted for another one. Thanks so much for watching today. As ever, it's very much appreciated. If you enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing to the channel as well as hitting the thumbs up button too. I've been Slimeman Dan. Have yourselves a great day. I'll see you all tomorrow for Matt Powell, who's going to try and lead this atheist to Jesus Christ. See you then.